Better Connected program this evening. We're going to start with a word of prayer. So, Lord, thank you so much for your Sabbath day. Thank you for this wonderful opportunity for all of us to be together just one more time. And I pray that today's program will be very informative and will be very useful to those who are a part of Gen Z and also people that are interested in finding out more about Gen Z. I ask that you bless this time that we have together. I ask all of these things in your name. Amen. So just for us to get a better understanding of Gen Z, what I have done for everyone here is made a Kahoot quiz. So as we play this Kahoot quiz, it is related to Gen Z with things such as who they are, what careers they get into, and also Gen Z Christians and whatnot. So if we can get Kahoot on the actual screen, and then we can start logging in with the code. So it should come up any minute now. Okay, there it is. And if you press classic mode, Kahoot. So if you go onto Kahoot, we're just waiting, so you need to press classic mode. Okay, and then the pin is going to come up. There we go. So I'll give you about 1.5 minutes to go in to the Kahoot game, and then we'll start. Okay, I see Maya in there. Jojo. Who's Jojo? Sienna. Also, the people online as well. If you're on Zoom, you can still use Kahoot. Yeah, you can change the emoji. So if you click on it. 713. I don't know. Or if you, yeah, there you go. And then you're in. For those who don't, it's just a Kahoot quiz on Gen Z. Is that everyone? Oh. Okay, we're going to make a start. No, because even so you can join in later. Okay, let's make a start. Gen Z quiz. Okay, so there's 10 questions. So Gen Z refers to the generation born between. Right, 10 seconds left. Okay, let's see. Okay, yeah. Well done to those 10 people. So, yeah, Gen Z, 1997 to 2012. Okay, next question, please. Okay, well done, Galaxy, who's in the lead. Okay, next question. What percentage of the UK population is Gen Z? Only 8 seconds left. Okay. Oh, wow. Okay, it's actually 15%, which is about 10 million people in the UK. Next question, please. Ooh. So Raya's in the lead now. All right, what does the Z in Gen Z stand for? It's Zoomer, all right? Yeah. Yeah, and we get the name Zoomer because this is the generation of social media and the rise of the internet, so we zoom the web. So Gen Z, Zoomers. Okay, next question, please. Oh, well done, Raya. Next. Okay. So average Gen Z got their first smartphone just before which age? I was 7, and I'm a Gen Z, so 12. Okay, next, please. Well done, Raya. All right, next. Okay, how many historical events, like things like New Millennium, 9/11, the new king, Queen Elizabeth dying, a lot of events. Yeah. 15. We've been through a lot. We have been through a lot. 2 millennials. Okay, next question, please. Yeah. Okay, Maya, new person in the lead. Question 7. How many times is Gen Z likely to change their careers? Yes. Up to 10 times. Up to 10 times in a whole career. Okay, but let's wait for the next question then. I just Googled it. Yes, by Google. Okay, so next. Next. Okay, so who is more likely to quit their job? Millennials or Gen Z? Okay. It's millennials. Yes, it's millennials. Yeah. So, yeah, no. So it is millennials according to a 2022 Bloomberg report. So yes, millennials are likely to change careers, but it is more, Gen Zs are more likely to change careers. Once they do find their career that they feel like they're valued and so forth, then they'll stay. But for you millennials, you're more likely to quit. Yeah. So next. So which career goals are Gen Z most interested in? Business person. Yeah. I couldn't figure out the reason as to why, but business person. All right, next. Okay, next. Okay, so what percentage of Gen Z say that they are Christian? Okay. Yeah, it's 35. Okay. In terms of the numbers, Maya, you've been picked. Okay, next. This is the last question. Okay, so what do Gen Z typically look for in a church? Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So, community security, compassion, and connection. Was it the networking that made you think? Oh, for compassion. Yeah. So let's see the podium. In third place, Cece. Oh. Maya. And then in first place, can we get a drum roll? Hey! Well done. So hopefully through this quiz we have learnt more about Gen Z. So thank you everyone. Thank you. I hope you found it fun. According to Google.
Good afternoon everyone. Okay. So I'm going to be your host for today. For the next session of Better Connected. But before we start, we're going to have a little bit of a quiz just to make sure that you guys remember your facts. Okay. So, for the first question is, do you guys know when the greatest generation was born? Far off. Very, very far off. It's 1901 to 1924. Yeah, basically. I think that's near the first World War. Yeah. Okay, so the next question. Google? I don't know. She was pure facts. Harvard referencing. Okay, the next question is, when do you think the silent generation was born? Do you know? 1950s. Before, it's way before. You're close. 1925 to 1950. You look. Disqualification. Okay, so 1925 to 1945. Okay, next question. Maybe they had to be silent during the World War. You know? Maybe. That's why.
They basically just accepted what was said. They didn't challenge.
Yeah, the older people. Okay, so when was the baby boomer generation born? She's very close. It's 1946 to 1964. Yeah. Okay, next question. When were Generation X born? Generation X. I never said Generation Z. Pardon? 1965 to 1979. Okay, Generation Alpha. So, I want to say 2020. No, 2013 to 2025. 2025. So that's the bracket. No, they're doing it like until a certain point, and that's when they're making a new generation. Okay, next question. When was the millennials born in? 1980 to 1994. And this one should be 1980 to 1994. The millennials. And then Generation Z, what do you think? 1995 to 2012. No, I don't know. Okay, so I'd like to invite the panel up. So yeah. Okay, so so we're going to start off with a little bit of an icebreaker so we can get the audience to get to know you. So my first question is, what's your name, your position, where do you work, or what are you studying? So let's start with Joseph.
It is on. Which act? Okay, I'm Joseph. I'm 17. What your position? What do you mean by that?
What's your position? What are you studying?
Oh, I'm in sixth form, year 12. Yeah, I'm in year 12. I'm studying physics, chemistry, and maths. And yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm Aaron.
Oh, yeah. What do you want to be, though?
Oh, a pilot.
Okay, Aaron next.
I don't know how this is going to top that. I'm Aaron. I'm 26. I am a recruitment coordinator. Sorry, I'm 25. I'm lying. 25. I'm 25. I'm 25. And what did you say?
What do you work as, your position?
Yeah, so I'm a recruitment coordinator. And then there was something else you asked.
Where do you work?
At a company called Bloomberg.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Because I wanted to represent.
And there was another question you said, but I forgot.
I just asked your name and your position, that's it. Okay, so next.
My name's Malachi. I'm 21. My position is unemployed. And I'm currently in a tech boot camp provided by Danielle. So that's where I'm at right now.
I'm Tatenda. I'm currently the head designer at my Ealing branch, so I specialize in kitchen design. I'm 25.
Okay. So thank you for introducing yourself. So the next question is, what makes Gen Z different in your opinion? So let's start with Tatenda.
Different in the sense of
Just
in
like,
general?
how are you guys different to the other generations before you?
I think we're a bit more limitless in terms of, I think before growing up, we were told either you're a lawyer, you're a doctor, and that's it. But I think this generation, it's like, well, do I even have to have a 9 to 5? I can be an influencer, I can travel the world, I can be an artist, and I can still find a way to make an income.
The question was, what makes Gen Z different in your opinion?
The access to the internet that we have. What else? I think there's a desire in our generation to kind of want to be entrepreneurs. Like, I don't really think people my age take pride in wanting to work a 9 to 5, from what I've come across.
I'd say for me, it's probably the exposure. So I guess piggybacking on from what you said, sort of the exposure to the internet, we question a lot more just because you see much more. So I think because we question, it means that when, I guess, maybe generations before us were told, okay, you do this because I said so, if it doesn't make sense to us, we're not going to do it. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah.
I would say adaptability to new technologies.
Okay, so the next question, starting with Joseph this time. Oh, well, your education hasn't stopped yet, but what do you enjoy about studying? Like, physics, chemistry, what's your best subject?
Maths is my best subject currently. Physics is my favorite, because I find it just easier. What I enjoy about it is that I'm able, like, for GCSEs, I had to do English, and I hate English. So, like, if you do English, I just think you're strange. So now, I'm actually studying subjects which I actually enjoy doing, and I also have more free time to be able to study as well in school.
Do you also understand the importance of studying?
Yeah, because, like, I've gone to, like, 2 universities, Cambridge and the University of Hertfordshire, and they, like, show you what it is that you need to do with your studies to be able to do certain degrees in university. So by having that, it shows me that if you do well for your A-levels, you're more free to choose which university you go to.
Okay, so Aaron, what did you study and what level did your education stop at?
So my education stopped at university, studied sport and social sciences. Yeah.
What level did it stop at?
At university.
At university, okay.
Yeah. BA, yeah, didn't do a master's. But I guess you still continue to learn every day, but
Yeah, of course.
my mainstream education stopped, at uni.
Okay, how about you?
My education stopped at the college level. I studied electrical installation, and I got to level 2 before I left.
Pretender?
My education stopped at BA University. I studied interior architecture.
So the next question is, did university benefit you in any way? And if you didn't go, why didn't you?
University, now that I'm working, I find it funny how people that are applying for my jobs don't even actually have the degree anymore. But I think for what I am studying, what I want to become, I needed my degree anyway. So for those that don't know, interior architecture, that's repurposing existing buildings. So with the goals that I have for my future, there's certain things that I need to know, which I can't pick up from experience because I just need that level. I just need to go in that direction. But I think moving forward, if I hadn't had gone to university, I think I could have still navigated my way to a point, but for what I want to do, it would have stopped at that point.
I didn't go to university because I think the people I had around me always marketed it as you'll be in debt for the rest of your life. So I think that's valid, but I think if it was up to me, I wouldn't have chose to go anyway, just because I know how I am when it comes to being under pressure in the education field. But I'm not too upset with myself for choosing not to go. I feel like I've got the ability to kind of just make it anyway. And that's where I feel like networking just comes in importance. So, yeah.
I think educationally, it probably didn't benefit me that much, but I think in terms of like developing me as a person, I think I wouldn't have wanted it any other way. I think I was probably so consumed with what was going on around me back at home, just generally, before going to uni, that I probably would not have been the person I maybe wanted to have been. I think going to uni, you actually sort of, I know it sounds cliche, but you sort of find yourself. It's like, oh, this is what I actually like to do, rather than, this is what my friends here do, or this is what like my family have told me to do. This is what the church has told me to do. It's like when you sort of go and you're by yourself, it's like the decisions you make are sort of based on what you actually want to do, and then you live or die by those decisions. But I think, it benefited me in that sort of aspect. And the people I've met at university, I would have never have met them anywhere else. I guess I wouldn't have known how to sort of code switch if I didn't go to uni, because I would have just been around people that are similar to me all the time.
So obviously, Joseph, you're not in university yet, but what's your expectations? Like in year 12, I knew I would go to open days, and what have you learned from those open days, and what do you expect in university?
Well, I haven't gone into any open days yet, but I expect from university that it's going to be like more freedom with like more, and also more opportunities to do other things while studying what you're studying. So like Loughborough is one university that I thought of going to, and they're very big on sports, and because I like sports, I might just like join some of the sports teams that they have.
Okay, so the next question is, what is the importance of networking, and do you feel that you are connected to the older members in church? So Joseph, do you want to start?
I think it's a good thing because you're able to hear from people who have experienced similar things, or like they can tell you what they could have done, so then you don't make the same mistake that they do. And for me, I think it's helpful because I don't like asking people for help. So them coming to me, asking me questions, it's just like I don't have to worry about looking for myself to find help from people.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think at work I see a lot of times a lot of people are in positions that they've got because someone else has provided them with an opportunity. And it's not that they're not good at their role, but it's just actually so much easier for me to say, I know Sian, she can do this role. It means that cost will be cut in order for you to come to sort of work at this role. So I think networking is like massive. I don't really know. I think I'm quite well connected in the church. I think, yeah, I think so. I think I think so.
I think I see networking a bit differently now. It wasn't really ever something I focused on before until late last year. And in the short period of time I've been coming to this church, I feel like I've been adopted by a certain few. And by talking to them, they've provided me with opportunities I would have never had if I didn't, one, come here and focus on like the networking and the talking to people, making sure you look approachable aspect. So it's very important to me in that way.
I can agree with everybody else. Networking is, of course, important. I have to say, for me, though, I feel like I am connected to the older people in the church, but not in the sense of my career. So it would be nice to connect on that level, but apart from that, I do feel connected to older members, some of the older members in the church, yeah.
So the next question is, what was your first job and how old were you? And would you like to give a little experience of working there?
I think my first ever job was probably waitressing. It was at the Hilton Hotel, so it was an agency. I never used to get paid on time, so that was one thing I always remember. But it was nice because I was with my girls, so yeah, I used to go to work with all my friends. But apart from that, I never used to get paid regularly, let alone on time. But we thank God for growth.
My first job was in Foot Locker. I was... It's actually closed down as well, that store. I was 17, and I got the job through somebody my older brother knew, so I guess that goes back to the networking. I think for the person I am, I think I'm strategic in the way I think, so it should have been stressful for me, because I remember the layouts of where the trainers are, what colours people really like, what trainers people really like. I just remember the important ones and then fill in the blanks from there. So it wasn't as stressful as it should have been. But that was my experience.
You guys lived really large for your first job. For my first job, I worked at a play centre. I was 16, I think, yeah. So while I was at sixth form after school, I'd pick up kids from like their primary school and take them to the play centre. So I worked with all of my friends, so all of my friends had that same job as well. Yeah, like when you think about when you like grow up, you're like, oh yeah, it wasn't like, how can I explain it? Yeah, so let's just leave it like that. Yeah, that was the job I had.
I've never had a job, so I don't know.
Okay, so the next question is, has being a Christian impacted the job or course decisions you have made? So Joseph first.
No clue.
When I saw that question, I laughed at myself. I thought, yeah, if I wasn't a Christian, I might have been pro, but yeah, probably not. But yeah, I think that's probably the only thing.
Definitely, because a lot of the roles want you to work on Saturdays because it's the busiest day. So even when I came close to contemplating it, my dad was always there like, boy. So he wouldn't allow me to work on Saturdays. I think that still trickled down into me because I'm very aware of that now. And so my next job, I pray that I don't have to work a Sabbath.
I think basically what you said, yeah. So if you know the design industry, Saturdays are the busiest days. So out of uni, it was a struggle just getting a job to allow me not to work on a Saturday. But to be honest, actually, no, it wasn't a struggle. I feel like every job that I've had leading even to this point, my bosses have always been like, yeah, no, that's fine. So I guess I am blessed. So it has impacted me, but in a good way, and let's hope it continues.
Okay, so I'd like to let the audience ask some questions to our panel. So anyone, do you have questions for them?
I didn't want to be one of the older people asking the question first, but I still will. I'm assuming all of you are aspirational. So I'm going to direct that question to Malachi and Joseph. And then the other one I want to ask is of all of you, where do you all see yourselves in 5 years' time?
University, I think. University. Because I won't have finished studying, I don't think. To become a pilot. It's a long process.
I can't say I've ever known what I've wanted to do from a young age. I think it's more, I will try a little bit of everything and whatever sits right in my spirit, and I feel like I can continue on for a while, I'll do that for a career. But in the next 5 years, I'm hoping to not have to just rely on a job. I want to have something of myself as well. So I've got the flexibility and the time.
Us as well. Because you said you directed it to two. You've got another question. Hopefully. Career-wise, I'm not sure actually. If I'm honest, I'm not too sure. I feel like I've got, like, personally, I think I've got maybe a 5-year plan, but I'm really fluid in what I actually want to do. In 5 years' time, you never really know what's sort of around the corner, especially with, like, how quickly the world changes, you know, so yeah.
For me, 5 years' time, I'm hoping to not be in this country anymore. Where, I'm still deciding, but I know I'm probably going to be in South Africa. But in terms of career, I hope to be working for myself, closer to home, in the sunshine. Hopefully, yeah.
So Auntie Judith wants to ask you guys.
Okay, so I've got 2 questions. The first question is, have the values your parents taught you had any impact on who you are now? And if they have, how?
Yeah, I'd say so, 100%. I think, like, I speak to my friends and we're very sort of open about our parenting, sort of how we've been parented. And my friend always said to me, my mum's very fair. And I think because my mum's been so fair and so logical, it means that the way I address specific things, it's sort of like that as well. So even in the world of work or even just generally, I feel like I'm very logical and I try not to get, I am very emotional as well, but I try not to let my emotions take away from my logic. And I think my mum sort of instilled that in me, as well as sort of work ethic. Yeah.
Okay, anyone else?
In terms of values, I think my dad was good at instilling work ethic as well. And he always kind of gave the scenario of, if you don't work hard now, imagine when you've got a family to look after and how they'll suffer. So that's always stuck with me. And my mom always instilled just the respect aspect of everything. Just make sure you have respect for people and treat them how you want to be treated.
For me, my mum is very positive, forgiving and patient. So within my life, I've always tried to be positive in all my plans and all my journeys because of her and her light. Another thing I would say, forgiveness. So I know my mum has forgiven me countless times, as long as all the others around her. So it's picking that up from her, especially in the work field. I think sometimes you forget that not everybody's raised the way you are, and people have their own attitudes and setups, and people will treat you wrong, people will disregard you, but you just have to be forgiving, and to the point of not being run over, of course, but to the point where it's like, okay, take it on, but just understand that sometimes things happen because it's a lesson, and sometimes situations happen because it's building you for something later on down in life that you might not experience now, but everything that happens is important in your life, and I'm just thankful that my mum taught me forgiveness, positivity, and I'm still learning the patience, but we're getting there.
I would say that mine have, because, like, a lot of the time in school, from like year 11 and years before that, sometimes people jokingly say that they think I'm white because I don't stereotypically behave the way most black people do. Like, I know I'm very athletic, like I like sports, but like I'm not always going around like hitting people or like stealing things. So it's like, yeah, because like a lot of my friends, they don't really care. We all just speak our minds. So it's not like I'm going to be like, oh, you can't say that because I'm black. It's just we say what we mean, because otherwise there isn't much point. So they all know who I am as a person, so they know I'm respectful. Like if somebody asks for something, I'm going to give it to them. I'm not going to be like, oh, I don't want to do this for you. So it's what my parents have taught me. They always say to be nice to everyone that you meet because you don't know like who they are, what's happened to them. So no matter what, even if I hate the person, absolutely, they can still like, oh, do you have a pen? I will give it to them because I know that they need that pen for that lesson. So it's just something that I've had to grow up with, and then people accept me for who I am.
Thank you. And just one more question. I mean, Joseph, you're still quite young, but the others who are over 20, if you could go back 5 or 6 years, would you do anything different to get to where you are now, and why?
Do you sports?
No, not you're, because these guys are all probably working, so you're just still doing the whole uni thing.
No.
Let me ask,
Okay,
and you can
my
answer
God.
afterwards. I just need the older ones, because I saw Tatenda kind of eyes went up like quite big.
I would have left this country a long time ago. That's always been on my heart because I could have been doing what I'm doing in a place where it feels like home. So that's the first thing I would have done different, but yeah.
I don't think there is anything I would change. There was a lot that I went through and didn't do because I didn't know how, that I didn't like at the time, but then looking back on it, it's like it kind of made me who I am, so there's nothing I would really change.
Yeah, I think so. Actually, 5 years ago, I was 20. So I think the last 5 years of my life have probably been the most successful. So I wouldn't change anything from those last 5 years. 5 years prior, then yeah, maybe, but I think, yeah.
I would say plan out how you're going to get to where you want to go, because for me, like right now I'm not struggling, but because I want to be a pilot, so you have to know where it is that you're going, so you have to plan out everything before. So like GCSEs, you have to know which ones that you choose that will be most beneficial for you, and then the same with A-levels. So for me, it's not like it's a problem right now, because I can still go to university and study what I need to study. But if I had a better understanding of what A-levels is like, what university is like, so like with the grading system, it would make it easier because I might have chosen like a subject which I'm more confident in to do.
Anyone else? Okay.
Hello. What do you enjoy about church, and what would you like to be different about it? I don't know. I thought it was any question that you wanted. Does it have to be career related? Oh, is it too much pressure? Okay, I think it's okay. If that's too much. Oh, you go.
Okay. Because our generation seems to have the most career switches, I wanted to know, when faced with adversity or you feel like you're experiencing a lot of complacency, what do you do to kind of focus and get the most out of your current experience, or change your mental thoughts to think more positively about it?
When you're going through a rough time mentally?
Yeah.
I think it's important to be present, because then you're able to not see it as, oh my gosh, I don't have a job. It's such a big step to get into a job and a career. You just focus on the little steps you do at that moment to get to where you need to be. For me, that would be playing basketball, going to the gym, and sometimes just sitting in silence, allowing myself to organize my mind and figuring out what I have to do next.
One more thing, are you good at basketball?
Play me after church.
Good afternoon, panel. Thank you for your, yes, it's me, your answers to the questions. So in terms of like career advice or help, like do you go to anybody particular, or like what are the avenues that you can kind of, go down to get advice or help? Or if you're going through something at work, like who do you turn to?
So for me, I think I'm very blessed in my work environment. So I'm the only female in my workspace. So I'm surrounded by older men, but they almost treat me. It's almost as if I have fathers at work, which does work to my advantage, because I do feel like they do support me. They do come out of their way to make sure that I'm comfortable, and they're very patient with me. So this is my first proper career in the sector that I'm in. So I feel very blessed that even my boss, he's more than happy to call me up, check on me, come down to see me if need be. I feel very blessed. Like, I don't think you can fathom just how blessed I am in terms of even like holidays. I didn't have a set amount of holidays because my boss is just so free. He's just like, as long as it doesn't clash, obviously. So I'm going off topic, but just to show you how blessed I am, I feel like I have a good support system. So if I do go off, everyone's calling me saying, Senda, are you okay? Do you need some help? How can we support you? And if I feel like I need some help, I don't feel like I can't not speak to anybody, especially my boss, if I need support and guidance. So I'm very blessed in that sense.
I don't really feel like I've got an individual or individuals to talk to about careers. Partially because I feel like whenever I reach out, I feel like I'm bothering people, so I'd rather just keep to myself. But if there was one person, I think it would be my dad. He's in the car business, so he does try to get me into that aspect of things, but I know he does it from a loving place to the extent that he can. So it'll probably be him.
I'd probably say a few people. So my mum, my sister, my friends, and then I do have a mentor at work. And I think I try to go to every single one of them with the same problem, because there's different sort of, I guess, solutions. I think my mum knows me very well, my sister knows me very well, but my mum may not understand where I'm trying to take something, maybe just because of, I guess, a different sort of generation gap. My mentor at work doesn't know me as much as my mum, but knows where I'm trying to take things. And then my friends, they know where I'm trying to take things, they know me, but they don't have that experience that other people have as well. So mixing all of that together, you kind of find some sort of solution.
I would say my sister, because she always finds out things, even like if it's not easy to find, because she does like searching up things, so yeah.
So we're going to go to Auntie Bernie next.
I've got a burning question, and it's something that came from what I think it was you, Aaron, who said, and I think it was when Sian was asking the question about the different generations, because you're a Generation Z, is it? Yeah, Generation Z. So one of the things that was said is, A, that you change jobs more frequently than some of the other generations. And the other was, you all speak up and speak your mind far more and challenge more than other generations, and especially the generation before myself. So I think it applies mainly to you, Aaron, and to Tender, but probably Malachi as well, because you've worked, even though you're not working now. How do you then decide in the workplace which battles to fight? Because you know there'll always be a battle, yeah, depending on what setting you work in, the people you come across. So how do you pick, what battles to fight?
I think, again, it's probably speaking to different people, because some battles are just not worth the fight. I think situations that sort of press on you, I'd say, yeah, I'd probably speak up. Surely because there's not much to lose. I live at home. I don't have any children. Like, I lose my job, I kind of lose my job. Like it's bad, but it's not as bad as if you had children, you had your own house. Do you see what I'm saying? So you kind of got to sort of have that courage, because my mum didn't have that courage. So if someone was disrespectful, no, I didn't. Like, if someone was disrespectful to her at work, she had children, she had a home. Like, you can't just leave your job. But I can, so I feel like, for me, it's just being able to think about what hills are worth dying on, you know? So, yeah.
I picked my battles depending on what my goal was for the company. So for how long I wanted to stay there, depending on if I wanted to move up, and depending on if the individual in question had power to get me gone or do something of that sort. That's how I pick my battles.
They've said it all, yeah.
And this is the last question.
Okay. Let's let it be one that we can reflect on. Now you guys are working and you're aiming to work. We want to talk money. Okay? Do you feel that you are paid according to your experience or your achievement in school, etc., etc.? Are you at the grade in terms of salary where you are at? Right? And if not, how would you go about getting more? And have you thought about budgeting and what you want to do with your money in the future, in the next 5 years?
Good question. If I'm honest, I think I'm overpaid, so that helps. Yeah, so I guess that's sort of that situation. I feel like I'm overpaid, so that, yeah, I think I'm overpaid, so that helps. In terms of, what was the second bit that you said? Oh, damn. I'd probably say I think I do okay in terms of budgeting, but not great. So I don't really, how can I say this? So I'd probably put like half of my savings into sort of some sort of fund or index. And that's really about it, to be honest with you. I don't really budget for anything, because I don't have anything that's coming up that I really need to. But I mean, like, I'm not budgeting for, I'm going to get a house or I'm going to have a child. I'm not budgeting for those things. So money, exactly, but I'm saving but not budgeting. Do you see what I'm saying? So I'm saving, but I'm just saving to save rather than for something.
My last job, I think I was paid. It was fair, to be honest. It was fair. Like, it's not like I was doing something very skilled or anything, so it was okay. My budgeting, I am now. I've gone through, yeah, of course. I've gone through my months of spending foolishly, mostly on food. And then it's like, you get to the end of the month, you've got £100, it's like, And so you might do the same thing to a lesser extent the next month, so you might be left with 200. But then eventually you get to the point where it's like, now let me stop the foolishness. And then you budget when you get your money, not after everything's paid. So that's where I'm at now. Yeah.
For me, I get paid fairly. Of course, if I sell a kitchen or the group sells a kitchen, I get paid on top of that as well. So I am happy that my earning potential can be depending how hard I work, really, which is nice. In terms of budgeting, I think right now I'm really poor, if I'm honest. Before I had a clear plan, but now I think a lot of the things that I want in the next 5 years have changed. I do know that I want to leave this country, so I am budgeting to leave this country. Where I go, that's dependent on a lot of things, but in terms of frivolous spending, I guess I still am. that will come to an end, but just let me enjoy my money for now.
Well, I know I don't have a job, but for me, I do have some money from like birthdays and things like that. So I do sometimes buy things. I won't like go spend £100 on like a pair of shoes or something, because I want to, but it's like in my head, I want to save money just to get a car and to get driving lessons so I can drive a car. So that's for me is the main thing that I want to do. So getting a job, I'm not really concerned about like how much I'm being paid, so long as I know I'm getting paid enough that I can reach a certain point. So like saving money, I know that's not a problem for me, because growing up, it's not like I was getting anything that I wanted. So like now I have my own money, I can just buy anything I want. I just have to be grateful for what I have now, because it's just how things are. So you have that, you just deal with it. So I can get a job, I'll earn money, and then I can get driving lessons and I can buy a car. And then after that, I can think about the next thing. So say, when I go to university, I'll be being paid, and I'll have to think about, oh, I have this to do and this to do, so I'll have to save money for those things. So right now, it's just getting paid, saving money, and then getting the things that I like. It's the main focus for me, and that's it.
Okay, so thank you for asking our panel some questions. But now I'm going to ask them some questions. So the next question is, what would you tell yourself if you were back in year 10 or year 11? So you want to go first, Tatenda? Just like about career, about life, what would you tell?
If I was back in year 7, I would say look at apprenticeships first. Oh, year 10. Oh, sorry. What do you do at year 10?
You're doing GCSEs.
Do you know what? Joseph said a really good point about not understanding the grading system. So at that age, I was thinking, okay, I want to do something in design, but like, what do I need? And I guess during my time when I was in school, there still wasn't that, the opportunities to become a designer or an artist or whatever, they weren't really still that big. So people were still kind of looking at you a little bit like, So it didn't feel like it was safe to just completely do that. But I always did have some sort of like design thingy, like whether it's art or graphic design or one of those in GCSEs, just in case I did want to keep that going. But I do wish I had a better understanding of the grading systems and the grades that I need and my options on what I can do moving forward if I did decide to go to college, sixth form, etc.
It would be to also look at apprenticeships and to be a lot more decisive in my decisions. I feel like at that time, I was floating around a lot and letting people's opinions influence what I wanted to do.
I'd probably tell myself to enjoy it. I think at this age now, I'd like to do anything to like go back to year 10. Because the problems that you had are definitely not the same problems you get like in like when you get older. So I'd probably say enjoy it. I would also say that I would tell myself that whatever happens, it's not the end of the world. I think it's probably bad to say, especially if you are in year 10 now, but if you get bad GCSE grades, like, it's not the end of the world. It's not really that deep. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, puts you back a bit, but don't like kill yourself for GCSEs. It's really not like that deep, you know? That's what I'd probably tell myself.
I'm not actually sure, because year 10, for most of it, we were in lockdown. So I was at home for most of the time, so it was pretty free. But so I don't really know, because year 10 wasn't a big year for me. I would say like the biggest years was year 8, because that's when I chose my GCSEs. Year 11 was the year that was like the last year of GCSEs, so I was doing them then. And then choosing my A-levels. Year 12, it's all right, and then year 13, you're actually doing your A-levels. So year 10 wasn't much, because you'll just continue what you're doing from year 9. So that's it, more or less.
Okay, next question. What advantages do you think there are by moving jobs?
Gaining more experiences and like skills, because if you're doing different jobs, you can get different skills for different things. So like when you're older, say you're just like, oh, I don't want to do this career path anymore. You know, you have the skills to be able to take on a different career path.
I'd say moving jobs, like as a rule of thumb, you probably would get paid more. Surely because, like, in order to move a job, a company has to give you sort of an attractive offer than sort of your pay rise with inflation that you'd normally get if you stayed at a job. So you'd get paid more if you move jobs. You get a different start as well. So I guess for me, when I did my first job in HR, I was a bit of a yes man because I had never really been in sort of the corporate world before. But when now you try to sort of say, nah, actually, I'm going to sort of stand my ground, people take that as disrespect because they're used to you sort of doing as they say. So going to a new job, it meant that I could sort of create my personality again. It's probably a better word to say that, but can actually say, rah, I don't do this or I'm not doing that. And people are not going to see it as disrespect rather than, this is just something that someone doesn't do. So I'd say, yeah, maybe. Yeah, those things.
Different perspectives. And I guess you learn different skills as well. And also I think it teaches you how to handle different groups of people, working with them or coming across them as their customers or anything. So I think it's a difference in perspective.
For me, moving jobs allowed me to be in the job that I'm in now. So before I even had this job, I had 3 other jobs within that same year, but each job was closer to what I wanted. So essentially, it was crucial for me to not stay in the same place.
Okay. Why are you still a Christian? And when many people in this generation, why are you still a Christian when many people in this generation is choosing not to have a religion?
Do you know what? I'm gonna be honest. I haven't been feeling church, the Bible, any of that stuff for a while now. So I think that's a very hard question. I think it's not even like the things of the world, or it's just sometimes I just feel like, for me, just not involving myself in the Bible and church sometimes just gives me peace, because there is a lot of opinions. There's a lot to take in, and sometimes I just feel like if I'm just by myself and I'm just carrying on with my day-to-day life, I'm not stressed, I can chill a bit, there's not that pressure. But I do understand the importance of having God there as well. But I think it's just trying to find that balance. So, what was the last bit of your question?
How do you remain a Christian while people in our generation is choosing not to have a religion at all?
How I remain is mostly because, to be honest, my friendship circle. If I didn't have a strong set of girlfriends in this church, God knows I wouldn't be here. I'm not even gonna lie. Because it's them that are like, come, that we got you, we'll pray for you. Like, if I didn't have that, I mean, and I have that at home, but it's like I grew up in that, so it's like, yeah, I know. But it's nice when you have girls that are your age, that get it, that have experienced the world as well, but are also choosing to actively come to church and do better. So that's really been helpful, and it's keeping me, and I'm sure we're keeping each other in church as well. So love you guys.
What was the first part? Why am I a Christian?
Why are you a Christian when others in our generation is not choosing a religion?
It's how I was brought up, and I've learned enough to understand that it does sit right in my spirit, and even though I haven't learned everything there is to know, is the truth to me. So I'll stick with it. And also, I'm a strong-headed person. Like, I feel like my generation is concerned with a lot of foolishness, so their opinion on what I believe wouldn't really hold any weight to me, to be fair.
I think probably because I was brought up a Christian. That's the first thing. I think secondly, again, because my mum and my sister are pretty logical, and I feel like they know about Christianity, it helps because it means that I was able to ask questions. I think when you don't know about Christianity and someone asks you a question, especially as an adult, you would say, don't question or because I said so. And when you say stuff like that, people are going to get turned off the religion because actually I've got a genuine question that cannot be answered. But when someone actually takes time and gives you a reason, whether the reason is right or wrong, but gives you a reason, you start sort of thinking, okay, cool, it makes sense. And Christianity now just makes sense for me because my mum and my sister allowed it to make sense to me. And I feel like maybe because they're not really that judgmental, it helps as well because it's like, I know that certain people do feel, I guess, a bit of a judgment when they come into the church, but like the fact of the matter is because my mum and my sister don't judge me, no one else can really tell me anything, to be honest, you know what I mean? So it's just like, I think because of that, I'm still a Christian because I know that regardless of what I'm doing, like, my relationship with God is the only thing that matters, and realistically, God wants me, you know?
I don't have a reason not to be.
So the next question is, what could the church do to attract Generation Z to come to this church?
That's a really difficult question.
I don't really know, to be honest. I don't really know.
I think I can start, maybe. For me, I think being more open and transparent with our generation. So instead of making it seem like they grow up all, like, you know, they're holier than thou, they should be able to tell our generation about what they experienced and what they went through and the temptations and struggles that they went through, because temptation and struggles throughout generations can be kind of the same in some way, and we can both struggle with that. So being open and how we can protect ourselves from that is really important for us to learn. So giving us the tools and equipment to help us in a way. So giving us the Bible verses, giving us the lessons and mentoring that we need is something that I think they can do to help attract us.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's it.
I think if you use more logical approaches to be able to try and make people believe in God, because the way science is now is a lot more different to like how it was, like, say, maybe 30 years ago. So I know that a lot of people will always try to find the most logical way to think about something. But with like a lot of people who are more older than us, they try to think more of, but this is how it is, you have to believe me. So if you're able to find a way around that, maybe there's more possibility that people will start to believe and become Christians.
I have to add, I think for the older generation, maybe an openness to changing certain habits or certain perceptions of how church should be, how young people should be, what's accepted to talk about, what's not accepted to talk about. I think a lot of young people probably worry that, you know, if I want to come to church, but I can't come to church if I'm not wearing a dress or looking proper. But I want to come to church, but I want to wear jeans this week because I'm just not feeling it. But I feel like I want to still have that interaction with God and still fellowship. But if I come to church in jeans, the sister down on the left-hand side might just stop me and be like, that's not appropriate. Why did you think that was appropriate, coming to church in jeans? And I think it's just sometimes we mean well, but I think there just needs to be less of minding young people's businesses and maybe trying to understand them and where their head's at. Because it's all nice and it's all good and said, you know, when someone comes to church and like, oh, happy Sabbath, how are you? We could all be like, oh, yeah, I'm fine. But sometimes you can see that person isn't fine. And rather than prying or forcing a prayer or, you know, you can just give them a hug or just be like, let me take you out for lunch one day. How about you build a report? And I think that would help a lot of young people who are in the church to stay in the church, and potentially feel comfortable enough to even bring friends into the church so that the young population keeps growing. Because I think it's nice to focus about, you know, how to bring young people in the church, but you guys forget about the ones who are actually in church. How about we focus on how we can keep them? But anyway.
I would say one thing, for me, I think, like I'm looking around here and I see one man. Like, what do you expect? Theo's just walked in the door. Oh, and Uncle Viv, oh my gosh, sorry, I didn't see you there. But yeah, I see like only a few like adult men here. And it's like, if like the majority of men are not really here, like why am I here? Do you see what I'm saying? It doesn't, it's not really attractive, you know? And I feel like, for me, I guess what I probably need to work on for the Gen Zs is that I need to maybe be a bit more here, you know? Because like, if they're not seeing, it's nice to see like the older men here, but it's really difficult to sort of, I guess, understand them. But I feel like I might be a bit easier to sort of get along with, maybe, you know? So, yeah.
Okay, can we put up the blue slide? Blue slide. Should come up. Okay, and can someone read it? So.
The 2015 British election study showed that those who claim to have no affiliation to or faith in religion has risen from 3% in 1963 to 44.7% today. Among adults aged 25 and under, the number of people that select no faith has climbed to nearly 2/3.
So, church, my question to you is, what ideas do you think you can do to help the next generation? So, any ideas? No, I'm asking. Just church in general.
So the question was, what can we do to help Generation Z to stay in church? Or what was the question? To come to and stay in church. I think it's a really important point that Aaron's making in terms of role models. Like, who do we see in the audience? Who is here, right? It's very difficult to aspire or to envision yourself still here when you don't see those people in front of you here, right? And so it's really important that we, me, other people are in the building and are approachable. And as Tatenda said, having these relationships with each other, like, it's not a case where we just come and go, happy Sabbath, etc. But actually, do I actually know what you're going through? Like, am I approachable to you who's going through something? So I think that's the most important thing.
So I would say connection. Obviously, I grew up a long time ago. And I grew up in a little church in Bristol where there was no difference between the generations. So when you'd go camping, I remember going camping at, I think it was 10 years old, and it was the 20-year-old guys and girls that would take you and show you stuff. So there were no divisions of age. And I think the church has done a disservice to the church with all these different stuff for Sabbath school. You've got the little ones, and everyone sticks to their ages. We never had that. So there was connection, there was family. And so for me, one of the things I think, and then you guys can say this is not a good thing or not because you're the ones who'd be receiving it, is what we need to do more is have small groups. So fellowship lunch is great, but I've watched you all. You're on your phones, you sit upstairs, you're in your little groups. No one actually talks. But if you go to somebody's house and you're there for 5 or 6 hours, you connect with people. Yeah, you can share, you can talk. You get to know the young people or the people you're with. That's how I got to know the older people who I'm still friends with, who are 20 years older than me. Because they invited me to their house, I ate their food, I'd go back, and you'd get advice, they'd talk, you would get... they loved you, basically. Yeah, I mean, I can see a few young people in here who I've adopted as my own children. And that's what you do when you connect. And so this building is a building, it's not church. Church is what we have in our hearts. And if we don't connect on an interpersonal level, we can bring everybody in, and as we bring them in, they're going to go out. So one of the things I would suggest is people start having groups at their homes, or once a month, you go to somebody's house, you all bring a dish, because, there's a bit of a crisis with food and that, But people bring a dish if they can afford to, and just talk. That is how you connect. That's how you build relationships. Because, like I said, fellowship lunch is great, but how many of you know each other in here? Well, that's good, but on a level that you actually know the people and know what's going on for them. I'm not criticising it, Chingy, because we've done this in the church for decades. No, I'm just saying, I'm not criticising what fellowship lunch is, because it's a good thing. But if we're going to talk about how we connect, and I'm sorry, I'm going to use a bit of prophecy, she does say we need to actually have small groups, because that is how you get to know people.
No, I don't think it's a criticism. I'm not offended by what you said, because you said my name. But just essentially, I think that, just to answer the question that Sian said, is meeting young people where they are, and creating safe spaces to be able to actually, that people actually want to be in, and that they feel safe to actually come and talk to you, or our peers, right, when something's going on. And I think small groups are super important, and just meeting outside of church is definitely a thing. When I think about the people that are here anyway, we go out, we go to people's houses, they go out, everyone has their small group, but when we're together as a big group, we still get on. And I think the importance of speaking with different generations, which is what I think Auntie Judith was referring to, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's what Sister is really great for, well, for the women anyway. And it would be great if the men could do something similar, because I remember we had a sister, or Shan put it on, and there were loads of women of different generations all intermingling and talking, and it was great. And I really value speaking with you, or speaking with many people, regardless who they are and whatever age they are, because we can always get insights. But just talking about the young people, it's for me thinking about creating safe spaces, actually reaching out to people if we think something is wrong, or just checking in just to see how they are, and putting on programs that's actually interesting, because whether we like it or not, we're in so-called competition with other churches. If, for example, CLC is doing something that is interesting, we're all going to go. Oh, CLC is another church. It's basically like saying Willesden or whatever church, Brixton, Balham, CLC Central London. But having interesting programs, which is good, will bring people to come to church. Well, that's what I think anyway, but you guys can say as well.
I mean, Chingy just said something that I just thought in my head. She was meeting the young people where they are. And I think for myself, I probably need to allow myself to be met, because a part of me is I don't really want to chat to the younger kids, because I'm not, my life isn't a model of what it should be, but realistically this is life, innit? Do you know what I mean? So I should be telling you what I'm going through on a day-to-day basis, because I don't know how to say this, but I'm kind of cool, do you know what I mean? I should kind of I should kind of just speak to people and actually say, "Bro, you can actually be cool and in church." Do you know what I'm saying? So, so I think maybe, I need to maybe do that. But that was just me maybe thinking aloud.
I think that just to come back to what you said is people actually need to take ownership of their own spiritual life, but also of other people. And if for example, we're asked like, oh, let's come together on a Friday to eat food, people need to actually, number one, make time to actually do it and make time to provide, for example, food and make time to actually come to church. And I don't want to take it to like AY in general because it's not about it, but when we used to do food and fellowship, it was a lovely evening on a Fridays where people would come and eat and fellowship and just sit upstairs and talk, not necessarily about the Bible, but just talk about how our week is and what we're going through. And I think just creating that space again and people actually coming out, and admittedly during winter it's cold, no one wants to come out of their house. And I think Zoom is a blessing, but it's also a curse because Zoom prevents people from coming out their house. Zoom is like, oh yeah, no, I'll log in at home, and they're not really concentrating. Whereas if you come to church, you're guaranteed a blessing, but it's in our head actually wants us to make that effort to move in the first place.
Just jumping on the back of what Chingy's saying, I can't remember if it's in the Bible or if I've read it in the Spirit of Prophecy, but there's something that talks about encouraging each other. And you can encourage each other when you see someone. Obviously, you can do it on the phone. It's not the same on WhatsApp or whatever. Was it FaceTime that you guys do and other stuff? I'm old. But the encouragement comes more when you actually have that human contact. And I think what's happened because of COVID, we've got used to dealing with each other in a virtual manner. And there's nothing more important than that human connection of face-to-face. And since COVID, a lot of people have died just because of loneliness post-COVID. So I think we have to encourage each other to have those physical connections more. And so I'd encourage you, those of you who can afford to travel to Chiswick or wherever else Chingy has the AYS, go as much as possible.
And I think that the reality is that a lot of young people are going through things personally. Like I've had so many people reach out to me saying that like various things that you wouldn't even imagine that people are going through. And I even spoke to one young person last week saying that they've isolated themselves for 4 weeks because they're going through such a hard problem that they don't feel that, similar to what you said, Malachi, actually, that they don't want to talk to people because they don't want to burden them with their problems. And the reality is it's actually so sad to hear these people come to me with, like, telling me their problems and they're staying at home because they don't want to put their problem on someone else. So first and foremost, I think praying for our young people, because instead of assuming, oh, you know, Alicia's not here, why is she not at church? Like maybe she's actually going through something. So maybe we need to pray for her. Like maybe we need to actually reach out to her and say, Alicia, I haven't seen you, are you okay? Instead of what some people might be like, oh, you haven't been at church, why are you at church for? Like, that's not really the approach to take. Because I'm only choosing her because she hasn't been at church for a few weeks. I know where she was, and I know what was wrong with, not wrong with her, but I know what she was doing. But various people came up to her and said, oh, where you been? Where you been? Like, but it's out of love. But imagine, like, she's thick-skinned, but imagine if it's someone that's not thick-skinned. That could make them cry. So it's, again, like what Tatenda was saying, like being mindful of us, because some people are fragile petals, some people are like crocodiles with thick skin, not Alicia. But it's just being mindful of how we speak and approach people.
Can I ask a question to all younger people? So obviously I was raised where you don't chat nothing, yeah, but obviously I realize that that's actually not sensible. So if you have a problem, would you rather keep it to yourself rather than share it? Because that's the question. Because oftentimes when you keep that problem, the devil tells you all these lies. And so, like, it might be that, let's say my mother used to beat me all the time and I just get to a point where I just hate her. And then eventually I'm like, I'm worthless, I'm nothing. And I'm not sharing it with anybody. So the devil he feeds on that negativity. And so eventually what was something like you just didn't like your mum or you hated her turns into, I'm going to kill myself. And I think if we do not share, if we cannot find someone to share that with, then it's a really sad place to be. And I think, would you be willing when you have a problem to share with someone? Because, like, you know, we're older, but we've got a little bit of life experience. you know? And those of us who you do see, who you feel you can connect with, we're actually okay. We're not ogres. You know, we're not going to judge you and put you down and say, oh my gosh, you did that. You know, inside our hearts, there's a prayer going on when you're telling us stuff. Because when I hear things, when young people talk to me about things, my heart's bleeding. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, well, how can I help? So if you don't share it, like, it's really great you're sharing with Chingy, but that's one person. I'm not putting you down, Ching, don't get me wrong, but there are other people in that huge circle that we call this body of church. Like, you've heard Aaron talk about his mum, how amazing she is, and she's non-judgmental. She's a lovely person. Yeah, so there are other people. I'm all right, you know. Uncle Tony's all right. You got Dad down there in the... Viv's a really nice guy. Yeah, so he is. He's sitting there quietly. I can't see anybody else at the moment. You have a big... And then you've got Gilliana. She likes to talk and laugh. You got Auntie Bernie and Danielle. So there are people you guys can utilize. You don't have to keep going to one person, but answer the question, would you keep that stuff to yourself and struggle? And if so, why?
If I'm honest, Auntie Judith, I get that and I understand like what you're saying for sure. But that is what you're telling me. What I've seen people get pregnant and then get disfellowshipped or get, what's the word? What do they call it? And it's just like, so you can tell me, oh, we don't judge, and you might not judge, but the church itself seems like it does. You know? So in my head, it probably doesn't, it's not the smartest decision for me to go and tell you, like, all my transgressions, because realistically, they wouldn't want me here, you know? So I feel like it's a bit of a difficult one, because I think us as humans are very non-judgmental, but I think when it comes into sort of the church, it's like maybe we might be a little...
Just to add on that, I think the church as a body has an image that they want to upkeep. So I think the more of us that we start telling our sins or whatever you want to call it, the more our business gets shared. And I think I think for me personally, I know that there are people out here that I can speak to, but again, it's about the report. So sometimes young people tend to speak to that one person because that one person has taken the time or has shown countless times that they won't judge and that they can keep these secret things just to themselves. And I don't think I think it's tough I know it's tough to share all of that information just on that one person, but I think it's tough to have multiple people to share your business to in the grand scheme of things. So I think that is probably why we just tend to stick to who we stick to, because obviously the fear of the community knowing our business, and then, yeah, like Aaron said, you get disfellowshipped and ridiculed and all the above.
For me, I know like there are loads of people in the church who I can talk to, because you all know me from since I was like born to all the way to now. So you all can understand what I'm trying to say to you. But now I don't have confidence to be able to speak to people, because it's just the person I am. I'm not going to go up to somebody and be like, hello, I have this problem, can I talk to you about it? So it might be the same for other people, so in the church. So I'm just saying, like, for you can also come to me or come to like any other person and be like, and just like maybe at lunchtime you can come talk to me and be like, how are you doing? Like, how has your life been? And like maybe I might feel like comfortable enough to be able to share those things with you. So while for me, myself, I need to be more confident and actually speak to you, you can also come speak to me, so then we can both find a way to be able to solve the problems.
I think there needs to be a mix of both what Auntie Judith and what Chingy is trying to say. I think that it is important for us to connect with multiple people that we wouldn't always connect with, but it is also wise for us to, suss out and assess, okay, is this person, because we're all human, is this person going to chat my business? Do you know what I'm saying? Is this somebody that I can trust? Because at the end of the day, you're not going to feel comfortable going back to talking to a bunch of different people about something that may be very sensitive to you, especially if that person is suicidal, and all of a sudden you find out, this person or that person over there is making references to it. But at the same time, it is important to have a different perspective. So if you keep going to the same people, what will tend to happen is you'll get the same perspective, and you won't be able to grow as a person or hear things coming from a different angle.
I think that's a great point. It's like what Aaron said about the different mentors and why he chooses different people to go to different, to get different answers. And I think it stems all down to what Tatenda said, the rapport. Me personally, I'm not going to talk to people I don't trust. Like I trust Mama Shaz so much because when I got baptized, she took the time to do Bible study with Alicia and I every week for a long time, and then we'd go out for dinner. We'd talk on the phone. She'd call me up. She'd say, "How are you doing, Chingy? What's new? Are you okay? What do you want to pray for?" And it's that bond that I have because she's taken the time to actually get to know me. Same with Sister Juliana. Before, she was, I can't remember what she said last time about the testimony, but she's actually made the effort to call me. We met up and we went out for a drink, and that was really lovely. We spent the afternoon together, and then she'll call me sometimes and be like, "Oh, hi, Chingy, how are you?" And we'll have a chat. So I'd feel comfortable to tell her, whatever I want to tell her. But say, for example, someone just Miss X or Mr. X that has never ever tried to approach me, I'm not going to talk to them, because I have no trust with them. I have no rapport. I don't know you, you don't know me, so I'm never going to, by default, go to someone I don't know to ask them questions. The only reason I would ever do that if they did something on the pulpit, or if they said something in church and it inspired me to ask them more about their situation, or if they shared a testimony about how God had helped them and I really related to it, and I wanted to get some sort of knowledge. But otherwise than that, I think it's human default that you're not going to go to Bob unless it's a therapist and tell them your whole life, and that's the reality of it. So if, for example, more young people, and it's very unlikely that they would reach out to an older person just because of the nature. I don't see that happening very often. For them to say, "Oh, yeah, can you help me?" But if older people reached out to the younger people, I'm sure, as in with a genuine interest and not because they're being nosy, and grew a relationship over time, they would want talk to people. But it's like relationships. You can't do anything without a relationship, and it's like with Jesus. Without a relationship with Jesus, it's like that's the path kind of thing.
Oh, hi. Yeah, we're talking about relationships, and I think reciprocity. Reciprocity. Yeah. So I think it goes both ways, to be honest. So I think as young people as well, you need to be open to, that kind of communication with somebody older, and downwards as well, Aaron, because you're at that age now, right, where you can be helping people under you. So I think it's a two-way thing. So we're saying, okay, I want to be approachable, but do you want to be approached? Do you know what I'm saying? No, yeah, exactly. So there's some people that I don't want to have a relationship with you for whatever reason, right? And, we can't have relationships with hundreds of people. It's just not, it's not practical. You don't have that time to pour into somebody. And so it's not about, trying to have relationships with every single person. But at the same time, it's being open to having a relationship both ways.
And then just one thing, I think people naturally gravitate to who they're inspired by. So if I'm inspired by what someone has said, like you said, role models. If we have a role model, you're going to gravitate towards that person. So I think it's also understanding what people hear, what they actually like doing, and then maybe matching it with an older person that has experience in that, because naturally that's a connection.
Okay, so my last two questions to the panel. Do you code switch in the workplace, and do you code switch in church?
Yes. Well, like how I said earlier, how I am with my friends, we vocalize like everything that we mean. Like, okay, there might be some things that they won't say to me because they know that I'm black. So like, I can't tell them not to do that thing because it's me. So like, if they're by themselves and they know that, I'm not going to stop them. But around me, I will tell them, okay, look, don't do this to me. But other than that, we are very vocal in what we say. So, like, if some trans person would like, oh, I want to go to the women's bathroom, even though like I'm obviously a man, we will be like, that's just some stupid thing. Go to the man's bathroom because you are a man. So, it's like we will vocalize anything and everything. But in church, there might be something like, okay, I don't want to necessarily hurt this person's feelings, so I'm not going to say everything to the extent that I would say with my friends, or like certain ways that I'm going to talk because like you might not understand me. So like things like that, that's how I like talk differently or things like that.
When I first saw the question, I was like, yeah, I code switch when I'm at work, fine, but I don't code switch when I'm at church on myself. And now I'm here, I realize I code switch and I'm at church as well. So yeah, I think I've probably code switched like so long that I'm still maybe trying to figure out who I am. And I think that just sounds so crazy, like when you actually think about it. But yeah, I think, yeah, I code switch.
I absolutely code switch during the workplace or wherever I am. And the reason for that is because of my dad. He would leave the house as a Caribbean man called Anthony, and he wouldn't come back the same. And sometimes he just kind of forget to snap back into Caribbean mode. He still does it to this day. But I understand why it gets you perks and benefits, especially when you're talking on the phone. People will respond to you if they like the way you sound type thing. So yeah, that's always something I've used to my advantage.
Yeah, I agree with what everyone said. Definitely code switch at work. You have to. And in church, I think I code switch to certain people. Generally, I don't think I do, if I'm being honest. Only because I think if I'm myself, I probably might offend a few. So I would have to code switch just out of respect.
Okay, so my next question is, do you have a good understanding on pensions and whether you should have one now? Pensions.
Do you know what? For me, I don't have a good understanding of pensions, and I think it's because I don't see myself retiring here. But outside of that, I should have a good understanding of pensions anyway, because I'm going to retire at some point. But I think tax, pensions, and all those things, I have to really sit down and really have a think. But I know the pension scheme, I don't want anything to do with it in this country, because I don't want nothing in this country. So that's just me.
I think in its simplest form, I understand pensions to basically be saving for the future and old age. I think the reason I've never really looked into it properly is because Jesus is coming by the time I reach that age, so it's not really something I've ever cared about. Yeah, that's been my outlook on that.
Yeah, I think working in HR, you get an understanding of pensions. I think I've got a decent understanding of sort of pension. Yeah.
No, I haven't had a need to because I'm nowhere near that point yet. So I'm just focusing on what's in front of me now.
Okay. So I want to thank the panel for answering our questions. And I'm going to hand over to Danielle.
Okay, thank you to the panel again. So, as you can see, a lot of what came out of the conversation was about networking, being better connected, and learning about each other, and helping to educate each other as well. So, we have been sending out a survey since January. So, if Kevin, could you put the code up on the screen. If everyone could take their phones out and just take a few minutes just to complete it, that would be awesome. So I know we all want to support each other. So this is the best way we can so that we can start creating little programs. So if there's a session on pensions that we need to learn about, or if there's a schooling system, or any types of, different types of professions, can we connect Joseph to a pilot? I think we do have pilots in our SDA community, but it's just, we need to talk and share information, right? So has everyone got their phones out? I know who hasn't filled it out. That's everyone. So if you can, that would be awesome. Okay, and we also have a few teens left here. So there is another slide. Has everyone scanned? Everyone good? Yeah? Does it come up? That's right. Auntie Judah, you got it? Those online as well, if you could scan that code. Excellent. Okay, so while you're completing that, Kevin, if you could go to the next slide for me, after the blue slide. Oh, it's not working? It is working. Okay, I'll share it with you afterwards. Super. Okay. So because I know everyone probably wants to go home, I'm going to skip some of that, but you can read the Bible verse there. Now, just for our young teens, there are lots of different types of courses that you can take. So I'm not sure if anyone has heard of a T-level before. It's a relatively new course. It's been around for a couple of years. So if you don't like studying, being quite practical or theoretical, the T-levels is similar to an apprenticeship where you can work and earn at the same time through college. So that isn't a new option to kind of explore. Then, of course, you've got A-levels, you've got internships. That's when you're at university and you take that year out to do an internship and then go back to university. So there's lots of different things. There is Skills for Life, so similar to what Malachi said today. So you shared that he's also doing a skills boot camp with my company at the moment, which is awesome. There's hundreds and hundreds of people on that course, and it's covered by the companies to skill you up in IT, or there's loads of different types of courses, project management, all sorts that you can find out there. That they're generally 19-year-olds and above, and it goes up to any age. These courses are funded by the government. So corporate companies, I think I mentioned it on the first panel that we had, companies have to pay something called the apprentice tax levy. So if they don't take on an apprentice, they lose that money. The government keeps it. So they put on these programs so that they can get that money back and pay for a resource, right? So you might as well take advantage of them. University degrees, there's so many different ways to get into your chosen career these days. Networking is absolutely massive. I've seen people that are in jobs that probably shouldn't be there, but because they're friends, friends know each other, they get the jobs. Listen to the taxman. Now, I added the question of pensions in there just to see what our knowledge was. Now, listen to the taxman is, if you put in your salary, it will tell you what your tax deductions will be. I had someone tell me they would not go over 40 or 45,000 because they thought they would get 40% tax, charge 40% tax, and this was someone in their late 40s. And I couldn't believe it. So their employer was very, very happy, of course. So if you go onto those sites, play around with salaries and see what your actual take-home will be. Super. Okay, so that's it from me. Thank you all for attending. One more thing, just to remind everyone that there is an AYS program next week on sexual health awareness. So we do expect you all to be. It is for all ages, and we have got some special speakers. It is coming from the health department, so please do come and join. Okay, over to Iona, who's going to pray to close for us.
Here you go.
I do that to you all the time.
But thank you to everyone on the panel. It was really informative and I really appreciate it. So thank you. Lord, just be with us as we head out to wherever we're going, whether that's home or somewhere else. Keep us safe. And I pray that we all have an amazing week. In Jesus' name, amen.